Fuck T1. Fuck T1. Fuck T1! Now, I've never really made any League of Legends content before, except for like one clip that I've uploaded.
Sorry, I was too busy like God, like I'm gonna be honest, bro, talking to you right now is like a fucking fever dream. Like no flame. Like,
and it's nothing I've cared too much about making videos about before, but it is one of my few passions in life, fun fact, and I'm gonna use timestamps to structure this video, because first I'm gonna touch a little bit on myself and my experience with League esports, but then I'm also gonna talk a little bit more in general about League esports and Worlds for the people who are watching my content who know nothing about it, and then I'm gonna talk about what teams I think should be in this 2024's Worlds from every region. So if you want to skip over some of those parts, feel free to do that. Now, first I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I've been playing League since Season 4-ish in 2014, so I've been playing for about 10 years. It's more closer to 9.5, I'd say. And since then I've watched a little bit of esports and League. Sometimes I would watch a game here and there, but mostly my interaction with League esports was through watching actual like highlights and montages of different pro players, maybe different pro teams, and sometimes like Worlds finals highlights and stuff like that. I didn't really have that much experience with it until Worlds 2023, which I watched all of. So before that I had not watched that much of League esports. I did, and I do have some understanding of League. I am Diamond 2 and very, very proud of it, of course. But yeah, my introduction to the esports was in actual Worlds of 2023, and then I watched the LPL Demacia Cup of 2023, then I watched LPL, LCK, LEC, and LCS, Winter, Spring, and Summer Splits, and then I watched MSI. I watched the vast majority of LEC and LPL matches, and then I would say I have watched the majority of LCS and LCK games this year, so I do have a pretty good understanding of it, and I've also watched mainly co-streamers that has provided me with a lot of information about how the game actually works more in pro play, so I feel like I have a good understanding of it, but I also have my own opinions on what I'm actually watching. And since watching Worlds 2023 and MSI, the two international events I have watched, I didn't watch the WC, I have also concluded a little bit about the teams that I actually enjoy watching and the styles of play I actually like watching, but also teams I feel like would just make Worlds 2024 extremely boring to watch.
Oh, yawn. Okay.
Well, no, Mio and ulted.
Yeah, I know, I did. I saw that.
So to do a brief explanation of how League esports work and how Worlds work, there are a lot of different regions in League esports. You have 4 major regions, which is North America, Europe, Korea, and China. And the special thing about these regions is that they are larger than the other regions, and they get more slots to qualify teams to the Worlds tournament. And the Worlds tournament is basically a big event where the best teams from every region play against each other. Korea and China get 4 slots, so they can send 4 possible teams to Worlds, and Europe and North America can send 3 each, and that is basically a little bit how it works. So you have a bunch of teams, I don't know how many it is, I don't care to look it up, I think it's like 16 teams in total. Some teams have to qualify through play-ins, which is a little bit of a tournament on its own, and then when the play-ins are finished you have a Swiss stage with all the teams, and then from that it moves on toward the single elimination knockout stage, which is so cringe that every single other playoffs, every single other knockout tournament that exists in League of Legends esports is double elimination, but of course Worlds, the biggest tournament there is, has to use a shitty single elimination system. It's fine, I don't care at all. So you have these 2 brackets, they play, and whoever loses gets knocked out until you have 2 teams left. Whoever wins that wins Worlds. I think that Worlds is probably the biggest esports event in the whole world. I'm not entirely sure how it actually measures up to some of its competitors like Counter-Strike and Dota 2, but I do think at the moment that League of Legends is the actual biggest esports, and therefore making Worlds the biggest esports event currently. So every team, of course, has different players, they have different play styles, and they have different reasons for me to hate them, which I am going to state for some teams in this video. Also, I have a little bit of opinions on different regions. I think that the LPL is the most fun region to watch. Second most fun is probably LCS. Third most LCK and fourth most LEC. Maybe I think the LEC is a little bit more fun to watch than the LCK, but recently no one gives a fuck in LEC and it's the most snooze fest shit to watch. So maybe I enjoy LCK a little bit more, I'm not sure. So I'm gonna start off with the LCS teams, which teams I want to see go to Worlds from the LCS. And the reason I'm starting with LCS is because it's super straightforward. Team Liquid, C9 and FlyQuest. And the reason I want these three teams to actually qualify is less because of their own skill level and more because there's no other team that I actually want to see at Worlds from LCS. 100 Thieves and Dignitas, I feel like they would just be really boring to watch. Like I wouldn't want to watch Team Heretics at Worlds, for example, which is effectively what Dignitas is. They're just the LCS version of Team Heretics. I don't want to see that. I want to see TL, I want to see C9, and I want to see if actually FlyQuest can squeeze something out, because they have really exciting rookies in Masu and Quad. But more than that, there's nothing much to say. It's just that in LCS, C9 and Team Liquid are the two best teams, which is why I want to see them at Worlds. There's no other reason to it. I don't think I have to justify that much. It's just the teams that I want to see. Moving on to the LEC. Now the LEC is pretty interesting to me. I used to like LEC a lot in the spring split of 2024 because I really did enjoy the lower quality games shitfest that we saw. But it's just been very tiring and there's nothing interesting going on in LEC. There's no teams that are performing well, there's no players that are performing well, there's no stories, there's nothing going on in that league, no player cares, and there's not many likable players in the league. Like, I just look at LEC and it's very uninteresting, very uninspiring, and it's like the only thing I want to see LEC is from international, because that is when G2 performs. But other than that, it's just not a very interesting region to watch, mainly because the players just don't care about the game, and it really shows in the gameplay. But they also have some of the biggest egos on the planet. I am better than Deft. Yeah, okay, bro. However, I do have some takes on the LEC, what I want to see and I don't want to see. I want to see G2, plain and simple. Wow, who would have guessed? It was really fun to watch them at MSI. I had a really good time watching them and following them. And I don't think they will be able to perform better at Worlds than they did at MSI. Definitely not. They probably won't get as far either into the tournament because it's a single bracket snooze fest. But I struggle to see them actually making it to the knockout stage. I feel like Team Liquid probably has a higher chance. If you want to see G2 at knockout, I would say that a Korean team and a Chinese team would have to be knocked out from the knockout stage for that to happen, because it would place Team Liquid above G2 in chances of making it to the knockout stage. But yeah, I really love G2. I love all the players. Really likable people. I like watching them play, and I'm really excited to see what meta they actually come up with, and I want to see if they can actually broaden their own metas and champools compared to what it was at MSI, because we could see T1 easily exploit the meta that they had made up for themselves. So I hope they bring in more champs to their champool and make it harder for teams to just ban out their whole games. Now, the other two teams from the LEC I don't care that much about. I would really like to see SK. I think they've been really exciting, especially Rahel and Luan. Really cool bot lane. I would really like to see Irrelevant and Niski at Worlds. I think it could be a fun team to watch. Kind of a team that knows they're not going to make it anywhere, but they're going to feel like they have everything to play for because of their careers. And I feel like they would just really care about winning and probably pull off some random shenanigans that would be fun to watch. But SK cannot qualify to Worlds anymore because they got knocked off early in the playoffs, which is really sad. Besides them, there's no really team I care about. I don't want to see Fnatic at Worlds. That's one thing I really don't want to see Fnatic. I really don't fucking care about Fnatic. It's such... I wouldn't say Fnatic are overrated, but they're really overhyped with their performances at internationals. I feel like there's no real reason to watch Fnatic. It's just so boring every single time. It's the same shit over and over. If you would sum up LEC as a region in a team, it would just be Fnatic. It's unimpressive. They have their few moments, but ultimately they're just chokers and they're just bad at the game, and anyone can outplay them. Just through pure macro. We've seen it and we've heard it, especially with Humanoid and Noah, that they are insanely good in scrims. Fnatic is a really good scrim team, but they're just the biggest chokers on stage and can never perform. I hope to see Raso join another team. I hope to see Jun join another team, but the rest of the players I really don't care about. It's not interesting to me to see what they would be able to do at Worlds. We saw them in MSI and that is enough for 4 years, I feel like. So I just don't want to see Fnatic at Worlds. So who would take their place? I would say just BDS and SK would be my favorite teams to watch. BDS, I don't really like watching BDS that much. They're like pretty... It feels very mediocre to actually watch them. It's just pretty forgettable, but I do think it's interesting to watch their bot lane specifically. Labrov and Ice are really making moves. It's really nice to see what Ice can pull off. Labrov obviously being the glue of the team, but I also really like Nuke. I like watching him. So I guess it's gonna be fun to watch them play against teams like GAM or PSG. But I don't think it will be really fun watching them play anyone else. Maybe an LCS team, see what happens. Maybe a FlyQuest versus BDS series could happen, but I don't think that it's gonna be more exciting than that, really. Especially putting them off against the Eastern teams. Like, just seeing them play versus like a KT or an LNG, I don't think it would be interesting, even though those would be some of the lower possible teams for the Eastern regions. I just don't think it would be very interesting. Mad Lions is probably making it to Worlds. Most likely we're going to see G2, Fnatic, and Mad Lions. G2 are locked, Fnatic is practically locked, and it's very unlikely that we won't see a Worlds without Mad Lions. I don't think I want to speak too much about Mad Lions. It's a bottom tier team, really, in LEC. They're pretty uninteresting to watch. Sometimes they decide to do some crazy shit with Murin, playing some random champions like Yasuo and Fiddlesticks top, but that's really all they have that is slightly interesting about them, and they rarely play around Murin's champ pool anyways. As for the rest of the team, I really don't want to watch Frescaoi, I don't want to watch Supa, and I don't want to watch whoever is the support. I don't want to see them at Worlds. I really don't care about them. It's very uninteresting. Boring players, boring team, boring way they play the game. It's really boring that they're able to make it to Worlds just purely through championship points and being lucky. I'm not even gonna say what 3 teams I want to see at Worlds from the LEC. I'm just gonna say I want to see G2 at Worlds, I don't want to see Fnatic, and I am fine with watching BDS. Beyond that, I really don't care. Moving on to LPL. Now LPL I'm a little bit conflicted with. I want to see Bilibili in top esports. I think that top esports is at the moment the team that would be able to match up against Gen G the most out of any team. BLG is my favorite team, and I really felt like they were probably the best team to actually match up against Gen G at MSI, which we saw. But with that lane swap meta, they really fucked over BLG's bot lane and Jun in the jungle. I was going into MSI thinking it's been weeks, they're gonna know that they're gonna get lane swapped on every single game, and BLG and their coaching staff are gonna come up with some genius way to counter this lane swap meta, but they just didn't, and it looked pretty boring to watch them play. And since they looked really weird, and they've had to bring in Wei from RNG to replace Jun, and now they're looking really good again. The problem is when I feel like you put up a team like Gen G against the current BLG, I don't think that BLG will be able to get an edge. I think their prime edge was around June playing so aggressively around the bot lane and being able to play carry champions, which is something that Canyon does too. He doesn't necessarily play around bot lane, but he does play the carry champions, which is what I think is something that could break the current BLG roster. I just feel like Canyon and Chovy playing together and Canyon getting those carry junglers is probably going to be really favorable if they're getting put up against BLG, which is why I think Top Esports might have a better chance against Gen G, not because Tien is any more of a carry player than Wei, but I think the Cream into Chovy matchup might be a little bit easier than Knight into Chovy. It really depends on the meta, I feel like. If Knight has his exploitable champ pool like we saw at MSI, I think that Cream is way better matched up, and I think he has more potential to be able to beat Chovy, unless the meta is actually on Knight's side. I don't know. I don't want to shit on BLG too much, and I'm not trying to. I just think that looking at Top Esports, I feel like they just have so much more of a solid ground to beating Gen G than what BLG does at the moment. But I'm not sure, I might be wrong. Like, looking at the individual 1v1 matchup, I feel like Bin is better than 369. I think that Wei is a better jungler than Tien, and probably internationally as well. I feel like Knight is a better mid laner than Cream. I feel like Elk and On are a better combo than Jackalov and Mako. But there's just something that's telling me that Top Esports might have a better chance at beating Gen G than BLG does. I don't think it's because Top Esports actually beat Gen G at EWC. I don't know what it is. They've just looked way more solid and way more consistent than what we have seen BLG, especially BLG right after MSI. But I don't know, I might be wrong that it's really hard for me to contextualize the whole situation and really understand why I have this opinion that I think Top Esports might mash up against Gen G better in this current situation. We'll see what happens at Worlds. But yeah, BLG and Top Esports, no-brainer. Now, I want to say that I want JDG at Worlds, but I also don't. I want to watch JDG at Worlds just because I want to see Sheer. Really amazing top laner. Probably JDG are going to be stupid again and play Flandre. But I really want to see Kanavi, I want to see Yagao, I want to see Ruler and Missing. I want to see these players at Worlds, but I just think that they have the LEC mindset. They don't care anymore, they don't think they can hit a higher peak than last year, which is obviously impossible since they won 2 splits and an MSI. And if they're not able to find their fire again, I really don't want to see them at Worlds, even though I would like to see Ruler. I'm just unsure on that. I would love to see AL at Worlds. It would be really cool. The thing is that AL can't make Worlds either, sadly. But I would really like to see them there. I think FPX can make Worlds, but I really don't want to see FPX there. In spring, I would have loved to see them at MSI and at Worlds, but they're just not the same at all. They were a super hype team to watch. Milkaway had the most insane rookie split ever. Everything seemed to go well for him. The whole team just seemed so good, and the synergy just seemed like you had nothing you've seen before. But that is all just dead right now. There's just no life in that team anymore. And the other 3 teams that could go to Worlds, except for JDG and FPX, is NIP, LNG, and Weibo. 3 teams that I feel like are a little bit similar. I don't want to see NIP at Worlds. I feel like they're just bad. There's nothing interesting to watch. I like watching Shanji when he plays Cassandra, but other than that, I really don't have anything I like to watch. LNG, it's like whatever. I don't care too much. I mean, it would be cool to see Wei at Worlds again, I guess. Scout is pretty nice to watch. Gala is cool to watch, I guess. Then you have Weibo. I don't have any hopes for Weibo at Worlds, really. I feel like Breathe is just pretty exploitable. We'll see about Tarzan. He has probably been the best jungler summer split. Maybe he could perform well. Xiaohu, I don't have too much faith in Xiaohu. He is just a solid player. He will not do or perform any better than any of his teammates. He's just a pretty solid mid laner, someone you can kind of count on. But I don't think he's gonna make too much crazy shit, really. I just don't think that it's gonna be like super enjoyable to watch Xiaohu. You just know that he's not gonna end, and that's kind of as far as I would put him at the moment. Looking at the bot lane, I really like Light and Crisp. They've played for quite a while. They look pretty solid together. I would say that they are probably more exciting of a bot lane to watch than Ruler and Missing at the moment. But my final verdict would be that I want to see top esports, Bilibili, Weibo, and JDG at Worlds. I just want to see, I really want JDG to do something, and I want to see it, which is why I want to see them at Worlds. But I don't necessarily think that they will find anything to do at Worlds if they get to Worlds. I just think they will probably be the 3rd or 4th best team from LPL. I don't think they're going to be able to push any higher than top esports or Bilibili, and possibly not over the 4th seed either, because I think JDG might be the 3rd seed. But either or, I don't think they're going to be performing better than the 3rd or 4th seed from LPL. Nothing about LNG really excites me. It didn't last Worlds. It doesn't when I watch the LPL. I don't know why, I just don't have too much love for that team. And I would rather see the players in Weibo play over the players in LNG play. I don't really care about the team too much. Like I said, top esports and Bilibili are really exciting, but when it comes to LNG and Weibo, I don't really care that much. I just think the Weibo are gonna be a better team overall, which is something I value pretty highly when it comes to like what teams I want to see at Worlds. Is ultimately most of it is going to be what teams I think are good, because I want to see the best teams playing against the best teams, obviously, at Worlds. And I want to see a Bin Jack skin. Now, moving on to LCK. You saw the thumbnail, you know what is going down. Firstly, I don't even know if I want to see Gen G at Worlds. Of course I do, but it feels like watching Real Madrid in Champions League. It's just, we know that Gen G is going to win. Like, there's no talk about it. The only way that Gen G doesn't win is if they make big mistakes, or a team is just luckily able to exploit like 5,000 weaknesses at once in a series with single knockout. Like, the odds are very, very much with Gen G, which is what I mean with I don't want to see them really, because I just know what they are. They're the best team in the world, undoubtedly. The thing that maybe holds them back is a little bit of meta stuff. I would say if you are in a meta where Canyon is not able to do anything and he's forced on some shit low econ jungler, I feel like he's not going to be bad on any low economy junglers. I don't feel like he would necessarily be bad at Sejuani or Maokai, but I feel like that is something that could be bad. If you place Keen against something like Ben, I think that he's gonna lose that matchup 100% of the time. And maybe you have some super strong Ben meta with, you know, Fiora Camille that can like one-shot everyone. And then you have the problem of the bot lane. They're definitely not the strongest bot lane in the world. I think that Elkanon are better, and I think that Jackalov and Mako are probably better. I think they can achieve more as a duo compared to Pace and Lehens. There is nothing much that I feel like is going to be able to crush Gen G other than them choking, which I think they are way over. I think they have had some, I think they have some great management at Gen G, probably great psychologists as well. I feel like they've just been able to do what teams like Fnatic hasn't been able to do. Not only do they not choke, they don't care at all about it, and there's no thought in their head going on about a possibility of choking or underperforming. They don't seem scared at all with anything they do. It just seems like the other top teams are Grandmaster and they are just Challenger when you match them up against each other. They just feel so confident in their own play. They know exactly what to do at all times. It's just a pretty straightforward team. They are the best team in the world by a pretty big margin, I'd say, but I definitely don't think that they're unbeatable, and I don't think it's just a clean guarantee that they're going to win Worlds. It's just definitely the most likely scenario. Now, I'd like to see Hanwha Life as well at Worlds. Hanwha Life is a little bit like LNG and Weibo in my mind. There's nothing really that excites me except for Viper. They're not a bad team, and I think they play exciting gameplay sometimes. Probably when they're playing against LPL teams, it would be more fun than watching them play in LCK, because of how much of a snooze fest LCK usually is. But yeah, I'd like to see them at Worlds. I'm not sure if they're the second best team in LCK. I think there's an argument that DK is probably better, depending on the day. But yeah, I'd love to see Damwon at Worlds as well. It's probably my favorite team in LCK, mainly because of Showmaker. I really love Showmaker more than anything else. But it's nice watching watching Lucid as well. When I was watching in spring, it was the most disgusting shit ever. He had like the most hype Lee Sin game, and everyone was talking about Lucid's Lee Sin. But I was watching that gameplay and I was just questioning myself what the fuck he was thinking with some of the plays. It was so disgusting mechanically. Maybe it wasn't totally disgusting, but like he just felt really weird on the champion, and he just really felt kind of out of place. I felt like I haven't watched much of the recent Damwon games. But I've really heard that he has really stepped up his game, so I think that's going to be interesting to watch. I think they're going to be able to destroy most of Western teams, but I feel like a Damwon against TL, C9 or G2 might be a really good and nice series to watch. I don't know, most of my bias for Damwon comes from Showmaker, because I really like him, and I don't care that much other than that, like what they are as a team. I just really like Showmaker. So, my last take, the most controversial take in history: KT over T1. I want to see KT at Worlds instead of T1. I don't want to watch T1 at Worlds. Now, this is not because I love KT that much. I really love Deft. He's definitely one of my favorite League players, one of my favorite League personalities, and I think it would be nice to watch BDD at Worlds. I would really hate to have to watch Pioshik at Worlds again, but I guess it's whatever. I think it's nice watching Beryl as well, but yeah, T1 just doesn't excite me at all. I don't have that much against T1 as a team, contrary to what you would believe in the intro. I really don't care that much about T1. I love Faker, best imaginable GOAT you could ever have in any game, any sport, any whatsoever. Faker is just the best we're ever gonna get, I feel like, when it comes to the GOAT of any game and any sport, any whatever. I just don't find it enjoyable to watch Faker. I don't find it unenjoyable, I just don't find it exciting at all. Mid lane as a role is just really boring. Riot made it one of the most disgusting, boring roles ever, and also mid laners have some disgusting ego. Every single time I queue up, my mid laner is just fucking playing the worst game ever imaginable. A few days ago, I had a 0-7 mid laner who was constantly shit talking the jungler, saying how the jungler never ganked them and shit like that. I'm just so tired of mid laners. Mid lane is such a boring role. They removed everything that was mid lane before, and now it's just a snooze fest farming lane. No impact, just boring. It's just a champ based lane where you don't play the lane because the lane is good. Mid lane isn't a good role. It's just all about the champion and what the champion can provide for the team. It is just boring, I feel like. I don't care about mid lane or mid laners in any of the esports games that I watch. It's just always boring unless you're watching an exciting mid laner, someone like Chovy, someone like Caps, someone like Knight. I don't know, I just don't care about mid laners at all in general until like 30 minutes into the game. That's maybe when I start paying attention to the mid laners. But yeah, Zeus, it's just really a headache watching Zeus. He is just the LEC of top lane. It's just uninspiring. It feels like he doesn't care. He doesn't try to push himself to his limits. He's not trying to be good. He's just trying to be Zeus. He's just fucking around. I don't know. It's something I find appalling when it comes to LEC, which is the unprofessionalism in a lot of the players compared to anything you see in any other region. They just don't care and they think that they're on top of everything else. And I see a little bit of that unprofessionalism in Zeus, and it just kind of makes me mad to watch a little bit. When you see them fuck up, you know that they're doing a bad play, they're doing it for no reason, and then they're laughing about it. I loved Zeus at Worlds 2023, but I find it so uninteresting to watch him when we have top laners like Ben, 369, Keen. There's no world where I would rather watch Zeus play than Impact, for example. I really love Gumayusi. I really like watching him play, but except for that, I really don't care about watching T1. It's not exciting to me. It's not interesting. They're pretty boring to watch. They don't provide all that much. All they have is Riot behind their back, and it's just making Worlds so much more fucking annoying to watch because you know that everyone at Riot wants T1 to win. and everyone just wants it because that gives them the most money, it gives them the most news coverage. Faker wins his 5th Worlds, T1 wins again. All of these narratives is just making Riot hard. They just want T1 to perform well, and I don't know if they do that out of their respect of the players, because the T1 fans are absolutely disgusting with the internalized internalized everything. The internalized hatred toward T1 players in the T1 fanbase is some of the most vile and disgusting shit I've ever seen, and you rarely see that in any other sport, any other esport. You don't see this much disgusting shit being thrown at the players from the fans. Anyone who ever criticizes or says anything bad about T1, the T1 fans are very quick with death threats toward anyone saying anything negative about them. Then the T1 fans turn around and they throw those same death threats toward their own players. It's so fucked up and it's so disgusting to watch, and I don't think there's a single T1 fan that deserves to watch T1 at Worlds. I just fucking hate it so much. T1 is a boring team to watch. I don't feel like we're gonna get any better series than we would with KT instead of T1, with Hanwha Life instead of T1, with Damwon instead of T1. It is just in general uninteresting for me. I don't care, I have watched enough T1. I don't have any agenda against T1 or any of the players, except maybe a little bit for Zeus, but I just don't want to watch them, and a lot of that is because of the T1 fans. But as an org, I'm just very careless toward watching them. I don't feel like they bring any sort of value to a Worlds tournament to make it more interesting, to provide better stories or anything at all. I just think that it would be more interesting to watch Genji, Hanwha Life, Damwon and KT at Worlds instead of T1, because I don't think that T1 provides that much entertainment value, and I just don't want to see these narratives that go around at Worlds, at MSI, at any tournament with T1 and their fans. All of those players deserve so much better, and it would be better if they just disbanded the whole team of T1 and the players were spread out across other teams so they could finally find peace and not have to live in a world where they are being constantly harassed by T1 fans, and where they feel like their whole career could get thrown out of the window at any second because they're gonna get scrutinized by every single T1 fan as soon as they perform bad or gets thrown out of the team or leaves. I just want to watch Worlds for the highest skill level gameplay, but also the highest entertainment that we can find in League, and I just don't think we can find that from T1. They're not exceptionally good, and they don't really provide that entertaining of a series unless they're going up against underdogs that are beating them, like we could see with a G2 or maybe a Team Liquid. That's the only times where I feel like T1 is enjoyable watching, but that is not because of T1, that is because of their opponents. And when I watch their version of League of Legends, it's just very boring, because you also know that Riot usually has something to do with it and are trying to force the meta around T1 in different aspects, which I think is not that much of a conspiracy theory, and we can actually see it happen. And a lot of people agree that this is what is happening. If T1 is performing bad, Riot is going to make changes that is going to be suitable for T1 in a meta for them. And it's boring to see because we never really get to see the true T1 and what they are capable of. They are just being forced to play whatever works well, and I just don't really feel like we really see the real versions of the players on T1 at any time. So, in conclusion, G2 at Worlds, Team Liquid, FlyQuest, C9 at Worlds, Weibo, JDG, BLG, Top Esports at Worlds, Genji, Damwon, Hanwha Life, and KT at Worlds. That's what I want to see. I want to see some motherfucking PSGs and GAMs as well. And now I have to sleep because I am waking up tomorrow to watch Bilibili versus Top Esports.